Hello, internet friends, and welcome to another video where I'll pretend to be an expert in something I'm definitely not an expert in. Today, we'll talk about the essential elements of daily self-care, or as I call it, how not to turn into a walking disaster in 7 simple steps. You know, self-care is like an oxygen mask on an airplane. Put it on yourself first and then help others. But unlike on an airplane, in life there's no flight attendant to remind us to take care of ourselves. So today I'll be your flight attendant. Without the uniform, though, and without free drinks, and without the airplane. But before we dive into the world of self-care deeper than I dive into a bag of chips on Friday night, let's clarify. Self-care isn't just about bubble baths and face masks. According to a study published in the journal Mindfulness in 2019, regular self-care practices significantly reduce stress levels and improve overall well-being. So, what should we do to not only look, but also feel better? Let's figure it out together. The first thing that works flawlessly is movement. And no, moving your hand from a bag of chips to your mouth doesn't count as a full-fledged physical activity, no matter how much I try to convince myself otherwise. Harvard Medical School research shows that even 20 to 30 minutes of moderate activity a day stimulates the production of endorphins, our natural antidepressants. Movement is medicine that we can all prescribe for ourselves, writes Kelly McGonigal in her book, The Joy of Movement. And it's not about necessarily looking like a supermodel or lifting an elephant's weight. Just find what you really enjoy. Maybe it's walking your dog. Maybe it's dancing to your favorite music in the living room when nobody's watching. Personally, I choose the latter, but my dog strongly disagrees. Myth. You need to work out for at least an hour a day, otherwise it's useless. Reality. Even 10 minutes of active movement is better than nothing. Practical advice. Set an alarm every 2 hours. This is a signal to get up and move for 5 minutes. The next essential element of self-care is sleep. And not the kind of sleep where you scroll through social media for 3 hours while lying in bed. I'm talking about real quality sleep, during which your brain sorts through the day's memories and restores your body. Sleep is the best meditation, said the Dalai Lama. Although perhaps he was just looking for an excuse to sleep longer. Matthew Walker, in his book, Why We Sleep, states, "Sleep is the only proven means of preventing Alzheimer's disease. And no, I'll catch up on sleep on the weekend is an Everest-sized myth. Sleep deprivation accumulates, and you can't just replenish it with 2 days of lying in bed until noon. Practical advice. Create a bedtime ritual. No phone, no Netflix, no, just one more episode. And if I'm being completely honest, just one more episode is the most common lie I tell myself after I'll start my diet on Monday. The third element of self-care is nutrition. Yes, I know, it sounds as boring as a documentary about the cheese ripening process. But the truth is that your body is literally what you eat. And no, I'm not saying you need to eat only organic quinoa grown by monks during a full moon. Just pay attention to how different foods affect how you feel. Myth. You need to completely eliminate some food group. Carbs, fats, etc. Reality. Balance is everything. Hippocrates said, "Let food be thy medicine." True, that was 2,400 years ago, when they hadn't yet invented the double bacon cheeseburger. Practical advice. Plan your meals in advance when you're not hungry. A hungry brain is an impulsive brain. And yes, in advance doesn't mean thinking about breakfast while chewing dinner. The fourth element of self-care is mental hygiene. Because your mind also needs a shower, especially after a day spent on social media. Myth. Meditating means sitting in a complicated pose and thinking about nothing. Reality. Meditation is simply the practice of returning attention to the present moment. Studies from Hopkins University show that even 10 minutes of mindfulness meditation a day can reduce symptoms of anxiety and depression. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response, wrote Viktor Frankl in his book, Man's Search for Meaning. Practical advice. Start with a 2-minute breathing practice in the morning. Inhale for a count of 4, hold for 7, exhale for 8. And if you think you don't have time for meditation, then you need to meditate for at least an hour. Don't worry, that's a joke. Start with 1 minute a day. The fifth element, no, not the movie, Social connections. A study conducted by Harvard University over 80 years showed that the quality of our relationships is the main predictor of happiness and longevity. Not the number of Instagram followers, not the size of your bank account, but the quality of connections with other people. Myth. Introverts don't need social connections. Reality, everyone needs connections, just in different quantities and formats. The only way to have a friend is to be one, wrote Ralph Waldo Emerson, which, translated into modern language, means don't be a toxic jerk and people will be drawn to you. Practical advice: schedule at least one quality conversation a week with someone you care about. And no, comments on social media don't count as quality communication, even if you're very witty there. So let's summarize our journey through the land of self-care. Movement, sleep, nutrition, mental hygiene, and social connections. The 5 pillars upon which our well-being rests. And now for a personal confession. I know all this in theory, but in practice. Yesterday I went to bed at 2 a.m. after a series marathon, woke up after 6 alarms, had a chocolate bar for breakfast, and spent the day procrastinating on social media. But you know what? Today is a new day. And self-care isn't about perfection, it's about consistency. You don't need to transform your entire life in one day. Start small, choose one element and incorporate it into your life. Because taking care of yourself isn't selfishness, it's a necessity. As they say on an airplane, put your oxygen mask on first, then help others. Thank you for your attention. And remember, even if you fell off the self-care bicycle, you can always get back on it, preferably not forgetting the helmet. And now, after we've gone the whole way from an awkward fall to a triumphant return to the self-care bicycle, I have a small request. If this video helped you even a little or just made you smile, please hit like and subscribe to the channel. This will help both me and the algorithm that decides who to show these videos to. Admit it, it's better for it to show them to people who really need them, rather than those looking for videos on how to unclog a toilet. Plus, each of your likes adds +1 to my self-esteem, and -1 to the probability that I'll quit everything and go breed alpacas somewhere in the mountains. Thank you for being with me today. Take care of yourself and remember, self-care isn't a luxury, it's a necessity.